Namaste, Namaskar, or Suswagatam Ab Sabiko. To our esteemed guests, online listeners and viewers, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to the 16th episode of Pustakalok Light of a Book, a facet of the Navdhara series which focuses on book discussions. Today, our discussion is centered on a book authored by Keli Hariparsad titled The 400 Club. This discussion is brought to you by the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center of the Consulate General of India in Durban, South Africa. We would like to begin by extending our thanks to Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogiji, the director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, for the efforts in propagating the Indian culture and for this wonderful initiative in particular. My name is Keshav Das, and I will be your program director for this episode. Allow me to introduce our esteemed guests and respected panelists, Keli Hariparsad, Shri Michael Ferguson ji, Shri Harinarayan ji, along with technical specialist, Shri Sushil Manaji, and Shri Sipiwe Mchunu. We will begin with a short foreword by the author, Keli Hariparsad. Keli Hariparsad is the pen name of the Crest House founder. After completing med school in 2017, Keli went on to work at the Durban-based hospitals for 2 years. Making the surprising decision to leave her career in medicine, she focused her efforts on becoming a published author. The Durban 400 was published in late 2019. When Crest Publishers was founded by Keli in 2020, it was only natural that the book rights eventually be taken over by her own publishing house. To bring the book to a second edition, published under the Crest House banner, the book was rewritten and retitled The 400 Club. It now becomes the flagship book of the Crest Publishers. To start, we would like to welcome Shri Harinarayan ji of the Consulate General of India in Durban, South Africa.
Namaskar. On behalf of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, a very warm welcome to Director Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, our esteemed guests, Ms. Keli Hariparsad and Mr. Michael Ferguson, to our program director, Mr. Keshav Das, Mr. Sipiwe Mchunu, and Mr. Sushil Manohar. Just a little bit about the book, The 400 Club. The 400 Club is a South African media mogul's son creating concept footage for reality TV, pulls together 7 friends with affluence and influence. There is Kiara Maharaj, a new graduate doctor drowning in the deep end of public health system. Aryan Soni focused on creating his own generational wealth, and Linda Dlamini, who makes her living the new way through social media. Aishwarya Yadav is a dancer who boldly left her country to pursue a career of meaning. David Doherty is a male fashion designer in an increasingly liberal society. There are also well-to-do twins, Jared and Jason LaRue, who harmlessly unaware of their privilege. The 400 Club, told through 4 viewpoints, is a young progressive quilt of their experience as new adults. So sit back and relax as we take you on this journey with Ms. Keli Hariparsad and Mr. Michael Ferguson, who will give us a deeper insight on this lovely book, The 400 Club.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this opportunity. It really, really means a lot to me. As a fairly new young writer in South Africa, it's quite hard to get opportunities like this. I am very thankful to the Consulate General of India for this opportunity. I'm also quite thankful to Michael Ferguson for joining me on this panel. Michael is also an esteemed writer, one of whose books I am a very big fan of, so it does mean a lot to me to have Michael here today. Michael is also a writer with Crest Publishers doing a freelance project. It's our first international project in which we partnered with Indonesia, with the publisher in Indonesia. So Michael is one of the writers on that project. So I'm really glad to have Michael here today. And so the 400 Club was quite a journey, as Mr. Keshav has just told us. It started off all the way back in 2019 when I first published the book with a different publisher. Back then it was titled The Durban 400. However, once Crest Publishers was started, you know, it really was natural that my own publishing house takes over the book. So there are all sorts of, rules and regulations about bringing a book out as a second edition. It needs to either have a new title, have a new publisher, which we've done, or at least 25% of the book needs to be rewritten, which I had to take some time to do. So I essentially reworked the story a little bit and came out with the 400 Club. I'd like to just show you a copy here. So this is what it looks like. Thank you. All right, so this particular book is very special to me because it's one of Crest Publishers' first ever hardcover books. We've titled this one the Crest House Luxe Edition, specifically because we went with very unusual finishes on this book. We really just wanted to get experimental. I think one of the challenges of publishing your own work through a different publisher is that you're very much bound by, the regular paperbacks, the standard book formats, that sort of thing. Being able to publish the book under my own publishing house meant that I could get as experimental as I wanted. So it was just an opportunity for me to play around with my own work a little bit, and I was quite glad for that. The story itself, as Ms. Shristi has informed us, revolves around 7 very different characters who are all put into a house together to create concept footage for reality TV. So this is quite interesting because it specifically appeals to the millennial generation. There aren't a lot of South African books that appeal to our generation specifically. The millennials are currently aged about, I think it's between the ages of 40 and 19 at the moment. I could be mistaken about that. But it's, the sort of in-between generation. We're not the young Generation Z. We're not the older Generation X. The millennials have very specific sorts of problems that we face in our time, problems that we've never sort of faced before, problems like social media, like the generational wealth gap, like trying to find a place in society where we're stuck between generations that believe in traditional careers, like your engineering, your medicine, your accounting, and the newer generation who believe in progressive careers like being social media influencers, YouTubers, all sorts of fascinating things. So the story just really revolves around 7 millennials who are doing something so millennial, which is making a reality TV series, but addressing their specific issues that they face as young people in South Africa. One of the reasons that I wrote this book was that I really wanted something progressive that appeals to people our generation. It is a very unusual sort of book. I think anyone who's read it will tell you it doesn't follow the regular sort of fiction we get out of essay. My favorite part of writing this book was that I got to include characters of many different cultures, which I think was very important to me. So, we have your twins, Jared and Jason LaRue, and then we have your characters, Ashwarya Yadav and Aryan Soni, and then we have Linda Dlamini. It's sort of if I can call it like the modern day sort of parable, where, different cultures are integrating together, young people are integrating together, and it's sort of an exploration of everyone's lives intertwining and how they are dealing with the millennial issues together. So the book itself, I'm quite excited to announce, is actually only releasing next week. So this is quite fascinating to me that I get the opportunity to speak about it so early. This book has been long in the making. I think when it released as the Durban 400 in 2019, when I started Crest Publishers in 2020, I really did, it was my intention to start the publishing house for my own book. However, it was such a valuable opportunity for other writers. So I got the opportunity to work with so many other writers and publish their books. And so a lot of my time was taken up publishing various other authors from all around South Africa. Crest Publishers has 13 titles in the space of 1 year. We've published 13 different authors. from Cape Town, from Vereeniging, from Rustenburg, from Durban, from Joburg. We've got one in Dubai even. She was from Cape Town and moved to Dubai. So it's just been such a journey. I didn't have a lot of time to focus on my own book. But this year we really got down to it. And so we've managed to bring up the 400 Club just in time for Christmas, and it will be officially releasing next week. Should anyone have any questions about this very unusual book for me, I would also be glad to answer those. Thank you for the opportunity, all of you, to speak about my book here today.
Thank you, Keli Hariparsad ji, for that wonderful insight into your book and also for the great work in publishing South African authors. I would like to now welcome Mr. Michael Ferguson ji, who is also a celebrated South African author, to give his contribution to this discussion.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me on your show. I really appreciate it. It's always nice to talk about books. It's one of my favorite subjects, so I'm here and ready. As far as the 400 Club is concerned, like what I find unique about it is that it's got this really exciting, unique premise. It's a modern book, and I think it speaks to modern readers. And I think in a world obsessed with like reality television, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, your Survivor, your Big Brother, it's perfect, and it focuses on the right themes. You know, it's well fleshed out, and the characters look, talk, think, and feel like real South Africans, which is what I really, really like about it. It feels incredibly authentic as a piece of South African work. And it has great representation in it as well, which also makes it feel wonderfully South African, because you've got different races, genders, cultures, sexual orientations. It's refreshing to see something like this come out into the South African market by a South African author for South African readers, for any reader, but specifically for South African readers. And then just getting back to the premise, like I think it's great. It holds up a mirror up to society. It talks about what we value and why, and asks if, you know, the superficial is really worth it. And I really wish that there were more books like this one, because yeah, the characters are phenomenally well fleshed out, very interesting. And it's interesting to sort of unpack their motivations and their backgrounds. And like you said, there's like a lot of unchecked privilege going on there. A lot of like this dichotomy between, like Keli was saying earlier, you've got, you know, people pursuing careers in, you know, social media influencing and YouTube and fashion design. And they're not necessarily the kind of careers that their parents had envisioned for them. So yeah, I think that the 400 Club is an excellent, excellent book, well worth the read. And yeah, if you're interested in that kind of thing, if you are a millennial, you should definitely check it out. It's well written too. Well done, Keli, I must say. It's very, very well written.
Thank you, Shri Michael Ferguson ji, for your contribution. I would like to thank the respected and esteemed guests for making the time today to be a part of this discussion and for your valuable input and your contribution towards this book discussion. It sounds like a very interesting book that I think we should all read. And I would now like to hand you over to Shri Sipiwe Mchunu ji, who will render the vote of thanks.
Namaskar and greetings to all of you. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, I am honored today to deliver a vote of thanks on today's episode 16 of the program, Pustakalok, meaning light of the book. Today's discussion is about the book, The 400 Club, authored by Miss Keli Hariparsad ji. This is a wonderful book. So to Keli Hariparsad ji, Dhanyavad ma'am for giving us this type of a book. Thank you very much. Now allow me to call our online guest. I will start with the author herself, Miss Keli Hariparsad ji, an author of this wonderful book, and also Mr. Michael Ferguson, who is a South African author also, for the wonderful remarks that they said this evening regarding this marvelous book, The 400 Club. So to Keli ji and Michael ji, thank you for sharing this wonderful book with us. To Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Ms. Sristi Harinarayan, Mr. Sashil Mana, Dhanyavad for taking part on today's program. And lastly, to our program director, Mr. Keshav Das. Thank you very much, sir, for being a program director this evening. To all our online participants, we like to say thank you very much for being with us this evening. You are kindly advised to visit ICCR in Durban Facebook page for more information about the cultural activities organized by Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Durban. Once again, to Miss Keli Hariparsad ji, Dhanyavad ma'am, to Mr. Michael Ferguson. Thank you very much, sir. And to all of you, have a wonderful evening. Namaskar.